and not on patrol. And as of last week, we find out his mouth that he still was patrolling. And now today, we hear that we don't know when the change was made, but that he no longer patrolled. When we asked who is our code enforcement officer for, I want to say about the last 2 years, in which we've heard citizens' complaints, his role was designated there, and now he just focused on that on Mondays. But we need our city, hearing the complaints and even the town hall about it, that we need to clean up our city. And so, I guess, as we heard today, I think we need to do some more planning so that way we can make sure that we give our police department the best resources.
Well, Councilman Jones, again, his primary duties are that of in the court, code enforcement. But by us being so short-handed, we've had to call him out from the office several times to assist. Once we've gotten things under control, he goes back into the office. So he's not.
I think we just heard the so short hour, and that we so short at least for the last 8 months. Before that, we was fully staffed.
No. We have minutes where Chief Johnson, before Chief Solomon, came in here and stated we were short. On the Waller County law enforcement video, he says it's him and 4 or 5 officers. So we've been short. What council probably needs to take a look at is you got 7 24-hour days. We've got 7 total guys, assuming White is full patrol. Fine. 24/7 coverage. When
Your Honor,
folks
if we
getting
could
off?
move to the next city council agenda item to continue this discussion, because you're pretty much off number 9.
Okay.
And I don't mean you, I mean all of you.
Sure. What I would ask council, pay attention, what I would ask council, because you may consider possibly going into executive session. We have Officer Kenny Lopez who drove down from Dallas again, and he's on item 18. If we could move that up, if council wants to go into executive session, what have you, Councilman Randall.
Yeah, I was gonna make that motion, but I would like to move that we move item 12, 13, 14, and 15, take action, and then move item 18 after that, so move item 10 and 11 down, and move 12, 13, 14, 15, and 18 up.
So, we move items 12, 13, 14, 15.
Moving item 10 and 11 down, then we're gonna take action on the ordinances, and then
And get to 18.
then go into.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded that items 12, 13, and 14 be moved up, items 9 and 10, and 15,
And 18.
and 18, and 18. And item 9 and 10 be moved, item 9, 10, and 11 be moved below that. For the motion, ready for the question?
Item 9, 10, just 10.
Just 10 and 11.
Okay, 10, 11. For the motion, ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The record shows unanimous. Councilman Jones.
Mr. Mayor, I move that items 12, 13, and 14 be moved to the next agenda for not having subsequent time to look over the documents.
If I might, prior to that motion, if you could at least hear the planning and zoning recommendations that your chair has been waiting to give you on each of these items. And then if you, as you get to the items, if you would like to move them to the next agenda, so that you can fully consider what their recommendation is as you consider the documents.
Mr. Harrison, please come forward.
Mayor, council, citizens, friends, and neighbors. I also have my co-chair here.
Yep, right. Excuse me. I didn't realize that I thought
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay, Okay, we're gonna start off with number 12, and I'm going to defer to Mr. Anderson to read off the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I would also respectfully request that I be able to make a comment before we conclude.
Item number 12. The planning, the planning and zoning commission,
Can you hear him, ladies and gentlemen?
yeah, item number, sorry.
Okay.
The planning and zoning commission disagreed and disapproved item number 12 for 3-0.
This guy reminds me of Eric Tyson.
Three no's.
Hold on.
This is-
Number 12, recommend disapproval.
Okay? Keep going.
Item number 13, recommend approval.
13, recommend approval.
14, 4 yeses and 4 no's and 1 yes, disapproval.
Recommend disapproval.
And number 15, recommend approval.
Number 15, recommend approval.
Any
Can
questions?
we,
Yes, Councilman.
For number 13,
13.
that's over in Rosewood, right?
Correct.
And I thought 2 years ago, the zoning committee at that time spoke to the residents over in Rosewood, and they wanted their community to stay R1, and then somehow, some way, somebody moved a manufactured home in there anyway, and they ended up going ahead and letting that person stay. So, what are the residents, or have y'all spoken to the residents, or anybody spoken to the residents on manufactured, homes again? Because I see Mr. Sanchez is not here.
No, what we concluded on that recommendation, we looked at it thoroughly. And the home, the manufactured home, will go into an area where 4 manufactured homes currently exist, 1 van, I didn't realize you could use van, but yes. Is that the right word, van?
A mobile home,
Not
which
mobile.
is,
It's
This guy, he has
it's
wheels.
a RV.
RV, I'm sorry, RV.
We don't allow
so
it.
that's,
Well-
that's an ordinance, that's an ordinance violation.
But he's simply describing
That's
the
that's not what y'all. I'm
the
just-
immediate area.
Attorney, that would be a ordinance.
Anything
Okay.
else?
And then if,
So I guess my next, I would ask another question.
I'd like to
When you-
respond, please.
Okay, when you say manufactured homes,
yes,
is that with the wheels off and sitting on concrete, or?
with the wheels off, it's, no, sitting on, sitting on concrete, on,
May I,
yeah.
may I respond to Councilmember Williams? Okay, what it is to take in consideration the existing houses on the street, the condition of those houses, and whether the applicant would be improving the area or not. And it was our conclusion that they would be improving the area with the house that they are bringing. And for your consideration, I'd like you to keep in mind that what is called manufactured housing is still R1. It is a feature of R1 that specifies the ability to use manufactured housing as opposed to site-built housing. But the R1 does not change. It's still going to be a single-family residence.
So you're saying if somebody wanted to put a manufactured house next to any one of these folks' houses, that's R1?
No, I'm not saying that.
That is exactly what you said. It's zoned R1, and you're saying now, did you take the time to find out how many of these manufactured homes were there pre the city implementing their zoning program?
Yes,
Because those were grandfathered in and shouldn't be considered because they were already there.
all due respect, Mr. Mayor, but we have to consider these, each one of these, in two respects. One is on an individual basis, and one is the precedent that will be set with the recommendation if it would be a difference from current. So, for example, if you have a neighborhood which is R1 and there are no manufactured homes in that area or on that street, then you would not want to put a manufactured home on that street because you're setting a precedent for other manufactured homes. But if you have several manufactured homes on that street, then you would have to consider that in an individual basis because the precedent has already been set.
And I guess the reason I'm confused is because I know 2 years ago, the zoning committee said no more manufactured homes in Rosewood. That was what they said, no more manufactured homes in Rosewood, because they said they spoke to the citizens over there, and they did not want any more manufactured homes there, and they wanted it to stay R1. So that's why I'm confused as to, we keep jumping around, and that's how we get confused with zoning, and that's probably why where we're at now with zoning, one map saying one thing, some saying something else. So, I mean, I'm in agreement that we got these things to do, but we need to make sure that we're doing it in the right area, in the right space. So that's why I'm asking all these questions, because 2 years ago, we were told they didn't want any more manufactured homes in Rosewood.
And they came to the meeting and told us that. Councilman Randall.
I guess the $1 million question that we have to ask as a city, and, we're talking planning and zoning, Act number 4B is here, the different entities of the city is here. What is the identity of our community? Like, what do we want our identity to look like? And so I'm looking at the zoning map, and, there's no true identity to anything that we're doing. And, I feel like we've been working to try to maneuver and try to figure out how to best accommodate growth and to accommodate progression. But so when you look at the map, there aren't a whole lot of R1, taxes on this community. And I get what you're saying, how it would still be R1. But I guess my question is, when you talk to the people, when you all talk to the people of the Rosewood community, what was the feedback that you received?
Right. Well, I will reply to Ms. Councilman Williams. We looked at the location. By the way, when I was here, I'm sorry, I wasn't on the commission at that time, about 2 years, 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
Okay. But
Right.
what's going on right now is, we looked at the number of houses, which I have told you, and the type of houses on that street, on that very block. And also during the public hearing, we never had a single person come in and resent, discuss that they didn't want to.
But did they know?
Yeah, we had public
Were they
hearing, just like we're
notified?
having tonight. We had a public hearing the same way, April 18th, 2019. Public hearing, not one single person came.
Okay, because my thing is, I appreciate the work that you guys do. You guys did not start this 2 years ago, but if you look, it almost looks like we do spot zoning depending on who it is.
Yes.
It depends on what business it is and what person it is. So let me make this
Yes.
so they can put this here. And that's how our city is beginning to look. And I'm not saying on you guys, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying if we're gonna be consecutive, we have to be consecutive about what these people or what the residents in these areas want and how they want their community to look. I'm not knocking manufactured homes at all, but I can't understand how the same group of people who said they didn't want it, are we now gonna force something on them that they don't want?
Okay, again, my only comment here again is not one single person showed up at the public hearing against putting that manufactured house on 738 Chairman Street.
If I might read for you the information that you were provided just today, and we apologize for when you received it, but the formal conclusion of the Planning and Zoning Commission, which you guys probably don't have in front of you, so I want to read it on your behalf. Is following publication and individual notification required by law, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on April 18th, 2019, and following discussion, approves the application requesting a zoning map amendment from R1 to MH manufactured home, as the request maintains consistency and is compatible with the existing public improvements on the southeast side of Sharon Street, which contained 5 manufactured housing, 1 recreational vehicle, 0 site-built structures, and 4 empty lots, reflecting a transition of uses on this street. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommends the application requesting a zoning map amendment from R1 to MH be approved for the proposed area on the basis of the application's consistency and compatibility with the existing public improvements.
So,
So that was their formal recommendation.
so there are no side-built structures on that side street?
No, on the.
Not on that
section-
block.
On that block, on the east block, right.
What I'd like to reiterate, for the concern of Councilmember Williams and anyone else that may have a concern in this area, is that I mentioned, and I hope that it was understood, that it was our informed opinion that the house that would be brought in would improve the area. And that, cross, not to my knowledge. However, there are persons that live on the other side of the street that do have, not other side of the street, but when I say that, the street crosses the main thoroughfare, Rosewood. And on the other side of Rosewood, there are some site-built homes there. However, the part that we're dealing with is on this side of Rosewood, on the street in question. And as a point of reference, someone did also apply to do the same thing on a street that had no manufactured houses, in the same, happens to be in the same area, and we recommended against that one because it was inconsistent with the other housing on that street.
And that application was withdrawn after public hearing. And
Councilman,
also,
when you define spot zoning, the community is a zone. So if you pick a specific address within that community, I can't think of a clear definition of spot zoning. You're picking a spot out of an entire zone. You're not changing the street, you're changing an address. What is spot zoning?
Spot zoning is something that's inconsistent with the surrounding uses and property zoning. So if you have something that is consistent with the uses around, that wouldn't be spot zoning. And you have a situation here where your zoning commission is telling you that there are 5 manufactured homes on that same block, 1 RV, and no site-built structures. So it seems consistent, and they're telling you it's consistent
And-
and
and
compatible with the surrounding uses and zoning.
But we're adding to that consistency, and what I'm not clear on, how many of those were there that were grandfathered in so that we're not adding to what the residents in that area, just like we want to watch concerns with every area, these folks chose R1 single family for a reason. And to change it to MH or manufactured housing, that flies in the face of R1, because then that could happen throughout the city if that's the approach we're
Are all
taking.
these trailers, are these, I mean, these are people living in there?
yes,
Yes.
and not only that, the new one, I'm sorry, I didn't.
So is the new one there already?
But no, it's not there, but they gave us a picture of it. Beautiful.
Yeah, we gonna
So-
find that picture.
Okay.
So I don't want you considering that picture.
Point,
Oh, right.
Where's
You
the
can't
picture?
consider the picture.
okay, point.
No, we sure can't.
May I make one last final point relative to this particular issue? And that is that we did approach the city attorneys, and they informed us from a legal standpoint of the fact that the change from manufactured, from R1 to manufactured is a specification and not a whole, not considered to be a whole change from R1, because manufactured housing is still R1, and it is not, it does not allow any other type of building, except that the single-family dwelling be manufactured as opposed to site built.
So does this not open up all of our R1s to become manufactured housing because they're considered residential now?
No,
Okay.
If we're setting the precedent, if that's the definition
no,
there.
they are specifically looking at the surrounding properties and uses of the exactly surrounding properties. And they have given you a report telling you that in that block, there are 5 manufactured housing, 1 RV, and 0 site-built structures. So because manufactured home is an R1 use,
Okay.
and you're going in a block where they are pre-existing, grandfathered or not, it does not create spot zoning. That doesn't mean to say that I recommend it, because I don't make recommendations. I'm just telling you what they recommended, and that would not be considered spot zoning.
I just remember several years ago in the Ferguson Heights neighborhood, which has probably 15 manufactured homes. City council said no to a manufactured home. And matter of fact, Mr. Harrison lives in that particular development. So it's got a whole lot more as a community than Sharon Street does in Rosewood. Again, I'm just wondering where we're going, and I'm not seeing or feeling good about that.
I guess
Councilwoman.
my next question is, has this mobile home already been purchased? Has this mobile home, this manufactured home, has it already been purchased,
They didn't
but
tell
just
us
not
that.
delivered?
Because that's not a requirement in the regulation. It's not a requirement from tell us in advance.
And
They
so,
have a specification for it.
so from a city council perspective, when you're rezoning a property, it's improper for you to consider the specific thing that's gonna go on there, because even if they had bought it, they could sell that property tomorrow and you could get a junk manufactured home on there. So,
No,
I mean, I'm just,
I guess the reason I asked that question is because we've been down this road, like I said, 2 years ago. And somebody was not supposed to purchase a home. They purchased a home, they moved it there way before we ever approved it. So then we kind of didn't have no choice but to approve it at that
Oh, I
point
see what
because
you're
she'd already set it up
Yeah.
and moved it there.
yeah, you do have a choice.
My question to, maybe you don't answer. Is this this agreement was in the regulation someplace?
Huh?
The agreement did not put mobile manufactured homes in that area?
That's what it was 2 years ago. The zoning committee said that they had spoken with the residents. And the residents said that they didn't want any more manufactured homes in Rosewood. And so that's why it was kind of a big issue when the young lady had already moved to our mobile home and then before ever getting approval from us. So we kind of didn't have a choice, and so we went ahead and let her, move her home there.
I thought we approved that ordinance change.
I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. I have all the ordinance changes, see what I've done, but I didn't see it in the place.
I move that we move items 12, 13, and 14 to the next city council meeting so that we can have more time to make a decision.
We still,
Excuse me?
we still need to make a recommendation for item 14.
And I didn't answer, we didn't answer your question.
Well,
either.
no, I mean, item,
They gave us all that.
No, they talked about Sanchez.
They said no, yes, no.
Number 12 was disapproved, 13 was approved, 14 was disapproved, 15 was approved.
Did I answer your question?
you've heard is there a second?
No.
Oh, second.
You've heard the motion, been properly second, you ready for the question?
Unreadiness from the floor.
Excuse me, you don't have an unreadiness here. Hold on. Councilman Jones?
I have it already, because I think, 13, we get, go ahead, I mean, what is the council's thoughts on number 13? I mean, it's not, the zoning committee has already approved it, so
But I got.
why would we move it to the next meeting? Let's just go on and,
All right, that's my question. So, Attorney Sheriff, I'm sorry, Attorney Griffin,
read and agree to the legal
for
document.
12, 13, and 14, even for the 2 ones that say no, if they say no,
Read and agree to the
and
legal document.
hypothetically we wanted to overturn it.
You're not overturning it. Their no is a recommendation to you
Correct.
to
So
vote no.
even, all right, so cool, I'll leave it the same. Even for 13, I mean, we have to go through research. You just told us that they didn't.
yeah,
want
but they're saying that they didn't find the minutes.
No, they
when we
recommended
changed
approval
it,
on
so it was
13.
never changed, so. we'll be on a witch hunt. If they can't find the minutes that say it, let them in.
Anything else on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed have the same right?
Opposed?
Is that 3 and 1? Let the record reflect Councilwoman Mo. You voted against it.
Right.
Hold on. Where are we, Councilman Jones?
I move that we approve item agenda number 15.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Agenda item number 15, discuss and consider ordinance regarding property located at 204 Hawkins Street, Prairie View, in lot 62 and 63 of the S431000 Park neighborhood, and being further identified as property ID number 15730 in the public records of the Waller County Tax Appraisal District from R1 Single Family Residential District to R3 Multifamily Residential District, or G3. Which one are we
We
doing?
chose G3.
Chose G3.
Yeah.
Okay. Heard the motion, ready for the question?
Question.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Let the record show it's unanimous. 15 passed.
Thank y'all for y'all.
Yeah, I one comment before I leave. We never had a chance to answer.
I'm sorry, I'll talk to you offline.
Good.
We got an answer for that. We don't?
Yeah, we're done.
Now, item 18, discuss and take action on approving Mayor Allen's appointment of Kenny Lopez as police chief for the city of Prairie View. What's council's pleasure? Would you like to go? You've got Officer Lopez's information. He drove down for the second time from Dallas. We're going to go into executive session for y'all to interview. Make a motion?
Make it
Agree to disagree. I move we go into executive session.
It's been properly
We need a
moved.
little better than that.
We need to read it.
What would it be?
Pursuant to local,
Under personnel?
pursuant to 551.074 of the Texas Government Code, personnel matters. I'm presuming you don't need legal counsel on that?
Section 551.0415, city council members without having provided notice to make reports and go into executive session. We're now.
Correct.
So do I.
Hang on a second. Okay. Yes, sir.